Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Built Like This podcast. I'm your host Maxine. We're on episode 305. Hi, hope you are doing well. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And let's get into it. Diddy, huh? Diddy. His homes, because it's apparently more than one, two so far, have been raided. Yes, raided by the FBI. The FBI have decided to go in and check his house out. Not for real estate purposes, but on the charges of sexual trafficking, human trafficking, the whole nine. Whew. Now, I guess this was bound to happen. This was going to happen at some point, especially since the just mountains of lawsuits filed against him and the allegations that have been stacking up against him since the start of the new year. Here's the thing. I am all for tearing him down. For some reason, I feel sympathy for the victims. I instantly believe them. There's no question. It's so weird, right? Because I think about R. Kelly. And I feel a little different. I do. Or I did at the time. Like, when all of the allegations came out for R. Kelly, yes, I was still watching all of the Surviving R. Kelly part 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. I was watching, but I was still holding out hope. I was still having sympathy for him. I was still trying to bridge some understanding because, he was molested himself and he's illiterate and like all of these excuses to not justify, but to not paint him in such a devilish light. And I think it stems from this nostalgia point that I have for R. Kelly. He represents beautiful points in my childhood and my adolescence and growing up with my cousins, and how much we share the love for him and his artistry. Like, his work runs deep, like it transcends. And yes, my parents do know Diddy, but the way that R&B hits your soul, it leaves an imprint. It really does. So regardless of what he was accused of and what he was found guilty of, and I think actually he's in prison for a technicality. I think it's like some RICO situation. It's not necessarily for the underage allegations. Not to say I don't believe it, not to say, but I'm just saying statute of limitations exists. And so I don't really care to look into it right now at this very moment, but that's what I believe is the situation. Nonetheless, that's just the differences that I can muster between the two. I feel like and the way that Diddy is painted too, I was thinking to myself, I was like, why do I feel so different about R. Kelly? I was trying to find so many reasons to justify R. Kelly's behavior. Like, I blame the parents. Why are these parents allowing their young girls to go visit him at his hotel for an audition, and they're trying to live vicariously through their kids? And I think all of that is still true. The parents should still be at fault, right? And yes, of course, a predator should still be seen as such and not be justified as anything else. But I think a lot of the stories that came out about R. Kelly were very suspicious to me. It was very suspicious. A lot of the girls just wanted to be one of many in his bed. One of many, because he had that sexual appeal. He had that, like, he had that. So it's like, okay, you wanted it, right? Like, literally, you wanted it. And I said what I said. But so when I think about Diddy, though, Diddy historically has been known as an asshole. As an asshole. He's been known as someone who is just a fucking dick. Like, I think about Making the Band and how he coerced, mandated essentially all of the band members to go get him cheesecake at a certain time, like super early in the morning or late at night, I should say, across town in New York City. So, like, these are just some examples of him demonstrating his like macho, do as I say, you know, I'm that head nigga in charge type of bravado. So all of that made the appearance of him just come off very like, ugh, put a bad taste in my mouth. Like, oh, this guy is such an asshole. Like, he has no humility. It's not like he's singing you to sleep after he's being an asshole, right? He's, you know, at least with R. Kelly, there hasn't been any reports of me knowing him to be an asshole. Aside from what I have heard, though, I do believe it, because I know some people who like interacted with him in Chicago, where he's from, so they could attest to how he comes off a bit asshole-ish. But it's different. I'm telling you, it's different. When it's an R&B artist, they can get away with it. Anyway, Diddy's homes have been raided by law enforcement as of today, at the time of this recording at least. 2 of Sean Diddy Combs' homes were reportedly searched by U.S. Homeland Security on Monday as part of a federal investigation. Federal officials raided Combs' Los Angeles home Monday, and this was amid lawsuits filed against him from accusers alleging the rapper and music mogul has raped, or SA'd him or SA'd them. According to just several news outlets, and it felt like a movie, because it was not just like a word of mouth or these articles being written that a lot of people are reading. No, there is widespread helicopter footage of the feds raiding his 22 room mansion. Like, what? And there are images of people coming out the mansion, being apprehended, being searched, and maybe being detained or arrested. Apparently, Diddy was not in the home. And from what I'm hearing, he was actually getting on a flight to flee to Jamaica. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard. And he was stopped before he was able to leave. So he's not arrested, but he's detained. So there's a difference. And I think what has me sighing, yes, I absolutely agree with all that is being had, and justice is finally being served on a platter. And I think that's a great turn in events in our society and the tone that we've been in. But I do feel a sense of sadness, because I think about the moguls in just the childhood that I've had, that a lot of us had, right? We've grown up to his music, him with Mace, the Bad Boy records. Like, he has placed an imprint in our lives. And I'm not saying this as a way to like diminish what he is alleged to have done. I do believe the allegations I really do. I have no doubt about it. Like, with R. Kelly, I felt like, yeah, okay, some of y'all was just trying to get on and saw what other women were saying. Y'all wanted that dick. I absolutely stand on that. Same for Cosby. Same for cuz he was trying to buy NBC. Same, okay? But for Diddy, I totally believe everything that, even from the Rodney guy talking about, Diddy made him have sex with Carisha's cousin and he didn't want to, and I believe it all. But I think regardless, there's just a sadness coming from the realization of the downfall of these moguls in the Black culture. It's just so sad to see one after the other, after the other, after the other, just falling down. Yes, justice being had. Yes, the roosts are roosting. What's the saying? What is the roosts are chirping? The chickens have come to roost. Oh, damn it. I feel like some of y'all listen to it like, get the phrase right. Shay, can you get the phrase right for once, Maxine? No. I cannot. But the chickens have come to roost, and that is what's happening here. So, that's just another episode of America. Oh, yeah. It's unknown whether the rapper himself was present during the raids. And it has taken place for a few hours, of course. Apparently, when raids are done, it's not always, if at all, the typical presentation that we see on TV of what a raid looks like. You know how when you're watching SVU or just any Law and Order, when someone's raiding someone's home, they bust down the door, they tear up the couch, they pull down the wallpaper, just completely rude. Like, can y'all just actually just gently move the console? You don't have to just tear down my TV in order to get to my console. It's just so disrespectful. So apparently that didn't happen. None of that like erratic raiding behavior took place. It was very strategic. They gently moved everything according to how they wanted to investigate, and so be it. So I just thought that was interesting. Like, oh wow, so yet again we've been lied to. But yeah, so that is taking place. This is obviously ongoing. Nothing has yet to be determined since this took place. This is a live coverage. And we'll see what happens next. Like, where is Diddy? I don't know. All I know is the rumor that I heard that he was not in his home. According to what I just read, it's unknown if he was in his home. But I feel like at the very least, if he was in his home, we would have known. We would have known. So I would say it's fair to say that he wasn't. And I think that's because he probably was tipped off. He probably knew this was bound to happen in the next few days. So let me go ahead and not be at home where I could be held liable and just made to look like a fool. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. Judge rules Jane Doe. So, there were plenty of lawsuits filed against him, and one of which included an accuser who did not come forward with her identity, so we call her Jane Doe. She has stayed with that anonymity but a judge has ruled that she cannot remain anonymous. So she cannot remain anonymous if Diddy gang rape lawsuit proceeds. So we'll see. I don't know if this is the same one. Yeah, this is the same. Okay, I'm thinking about the one who says she was 17 at the time and says she was gang raped by him and his team, Harvey Pierre, I believe, allegedly. So we'll see how everything turns out. It's just one after the other, after the other, after the other. And again, I think I really do believe a lot of what Sloan Bella has said about just these specific events, and a lot of the events that I've have been just watching her content about. I think with these people who are in these elite positions, quote unquote, they are not of just like regular flesh and bone. I don't think everyone who's human from the present, like from the physical sense, is actually human in the humanity of it all, like actually caring for other people, being of service to others. I think something's deeper is happening, and it's of course beyond the flesh and bone. So when you have a case of Diddy who's accused of these heinous acts, I think this is beyond what we think is, oh, he's really a gay man. I think that's just such a lazy analysis. I don't even think he's gay. I really don't. I don't think he is genuinely a closeted homosexual who has been battling with this. I feel like that's such an easy cop-out when we think about situations like this. And what's hard for a lot of people to grasp is the reality of there are people amongst us who are not of the same soul, if at all, as we are. So their sense of reality, their sense of being in harmony or lack thereof with others is completely gone. Like there's no reality, there's no room for that. Of course I'm gonna fuck you in the ass, right? Literally. Of course, because I'm not of the same flesh and bone as you are. I subscribe to a different God. So if I'm subscribing to a different God, if I'm subscribing to a God who is of darkness, of course I'm going to do dark things. And I'm going to be in possession of that dark entity. So a lot of these people who are involved in such acts, and this is not exclusive to elites or, people who are in Hollywood. This is also people in your day-to-day. Like if you're working a regular 9 to 5, you could be with a coworker who is of that type of lifestyle, and they know how to disguise themselves enough to go about a regular day. But you just have to be mindful of how people present themselves to how they actually present themselves and to how they actually behave. It's so much deeper than what we think it is. So this whole like lazy approach of, oh, he's really gay. And look, maybe I can't even give him that. The whole maybe, no, I don't think he's gay. I think there's something else going on, and it's deeper than what we think it is. Okay, well, speaking of something else is going on, let's talk about why I believe, and I'm standing 10 toes down on why I think couples who are of the LGBTQIA+ community should not be allowed to be parents. Yes, hello? Maybe my mic's not on. Let me try again. I said, I believe parents who are of the so if you are of if you are, I was say of gay descent, like what? If you are gay, if you are a lesbian couple, either or, right? If you're a gay male couple, or if you're a lesbian female couple, right? Or, whatever other facets in that community you identify as, I do not believe you should be allowed to parent a child. And more than just parent, like, you could parent kids who are not your own type of thing. Right. Let me be very clear here. I do not believe you should be allowed to adopt children. I don't. And I absolutely don't believe you should be allowed to adopt children who are black or brown if you are not black or brown. Hello? Is my mic on? So if you are a white couple who happens to be gay and you adopt a black child from Haiti, you should absolutely be put to jail. Not even to jail, under the jail. And you don't even have to be of that community, right? You don't even have to be gay. If you are just a white couple adopting black or brown babies, you should be put to jail. Hello? I'm dead. I don't care how controversial this take is, but I have read too many stories of couples who fall under this category showing themselves to be dangerous, showing themselves to be demonic and demented, yet they decided to adopt children who are particularly black, and somehow these kids are either one, murdered through a murder-suicide situation, or they're pimped out. And I have two stories to support what I'm saying. So let's start off with the first one. A lesbian couple, a white lesbian couple who are fit, or who were, because they're no longer with us, nor are their 6 children who they adopted are longer with us. These 2 adult women who are in their 30s, who were in their 30s, because again, they're no longer here, decided to drive off a cliff in their SUV in California just last year. Actually, no, in 2018, actually. But the picture came up in my timeline, and I'm like, oh, I remember this picture of this young boy, this young black boy who was one of the 6 children, black children, that they decided to adopt. They decided to drive off a cliff in their SUV with their 6 children in the car, killing herself, her wife, and their 6 children as part of a murder-suicide. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. How depraved, how sick, how disturbing this is. This is a ruling that came from a coroner's jury, which found that Jennifer Hart was drunk at the wheel of the SUV when it plummeted 100 feet into the Pacific Ocean in March. But Hart didn't act alone. Investigators also found out prior to the crash, Hart's wife, Sarah, was searching for ways to end their family's lives on her phone. So this was deliberate, this was planned, this was calculated, and this is demonic. She typed in her phone, "How easily can I overdose on over-the-counter medications?" Why are you trying to find that information out, Becky? well, Sarah Hart in this instance. Because she's trying to figure out, how can I kill my entire family and myself, take them down with me, as again, my allegiance to this dark entity that I have decided to pledge to. She also typed, can 500 milligrams of Benadryl kill a 125-pound woman? How long does it take to die from hypothermia while drowning in a car? So clearly she is giving so much thought, so much effort, so much detail into figuring out different ways and strategies to be efficient in killing herself and her children. Her children whom she adopted. Thinking that, sometimes when we think of adoption, we think, it's so selfless. It's such a selfless act. It's such a way to help those who are unable to help themselves. It's so amazing. Oh my gosh, your Mother Teresa, who was a fraud, by the way. I'm learning that recently. I'm like, oh my gosh, Mother Teresa was living lavish while telling other people, no, you should stay in your poverty. God is showing you he loves you. That's how you show your faith. But she's over here living super nice, luxuriously. That's how Mother Teresa was doing. But that's a whole different episode. So this woman, she's looking up different ways, different strategies to figure out how to kill her children. And the crash happened. I guess they finally decided, hey, you know what? Let's just take the easy way out. We don't have to buy these prescriptions and do the science. Just get drunk behind the wheel, give you enough confidence to drive off this cliff and kill us all. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan, Jane. The crash, which police called a tragedy, claimed the lives of both Harts, as well as their 6 adopted children. Marcus, who's 19, Hannah, who's 16, Devontae, who was 15, Abigail and Jeremiah, both 14, and Sierra, 12. Just disgusting. I am so disgusted by this. Marcus, Abigail, and Jeremiah were found at the scene of the crash. Sierra's body was discovered 2 weeks later. Hannah's body has never been recovered, but a shoe containing a foot was found north of the crash site in May, with DNA identifying it as hers. Devontae's body has also never been recovered, though police believe he died alongside his siblings. Oh, this is just terrible. I feel like these things, like these stories, we don't hear much alarming reports and coverage about it because of this woke movement that we're in society. And I feel like as of recently, things are starting to show as ridiculous. I think more people are coming forward and coming out with saying, no, this is weird. This is not okay. So I'm happy about that. But still, it's not enough. It's not enough because, again, we have this like white savior complex when it comes to white people, when it comes to their way of like aiding us and trying to be of good help, when all the while, again, it's a disguise. It's a disguise. Jennifer Hart had consumed the equivalent of 5 shots of alcohol prior to the crash. Sarah and at least 3 of the children had diphenhydramine, a component of Benadryl, in their system. So that was obviously done with malice, because I can't have these kids who are sober in the car, fully aware that we're about to drive off a cliff. These kids may want to like stop the car somehow, or fight against it, or jump out the car. So I'm going to drug these children who I adopted, who I was supposed to care for and provide a better life, right? That's why you took them away from their orphanages and their foster homes, or from their actual parents. Your goal was to provide them with a better life, right? No, wrong. Again, like these people are sick. These people are coming from a different perspective that is entirely demonic. And when I say these people, I mean people who subscribe to dark entities to fulfill that agenda, to fulfill that dark agenda. Sarah's levels were toxic. Sarah is one of the children. Equivalent with at least 42. No, Sarah's not one of the children. Sorry. Sarah was one of the parents. Equivalent to 42 doses, according to the forensic pathologist's report. The children's blood contained extremely high levels of the drug. So not only did she and her partner decided to get fucked up drunk, they also decided to take this drug, a component of Benadryl, and consume it in order to be completely high and unable to function or use sound judgment. Even so, this was well calculated, so there was no room for sound judgment anyway. They were fulfilling a mission that is of the devil, a mission that is of darkness. This is straight demonic. I want to reference a Bible verse for everyone. If we go to Ephesians 6, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and bone, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Sit with that. We are not fighting what we think to be something light. Oh my gosh, someone's just dealing with depression and they have PTSD, or oh my gosh, so what is that? Not PTSD. There's something else for like specifically for mothers. Even so, there's no room for that excuse here. But again, we live in a society where people like to deny the existence of God. And in doing so, they deny the existence of darkness. They deny the existence of dark entities who are consuming, or that are consuming, the bodies, taking host of the bodies, some of the bodies here in America or wherever you are. Honestly, it's not exclusive to America. And how do they take over? You know, some people who are genuinely inviting these entities into their homes in different ways. So whether that's through actively subscribing to occultic practices, or even just subtle practice of like engaging in different just occultic things. Y'all, I'm just so it's so disturbing, because when I continue reading, it gets worse, okay? So prior to this actually happening, one of the children, this young boy, who is known for a picture of him crying while he's hugging a police officer and he's wearing a hat. And the propagandist report of this picture is he was upset about Bernie Sanders not not winning something, like not winning, getting past this particular election at the time. And it's like, first of all, why is this 11-year-old black boy even aware of, like, can you go play basketball? What are we talking about? Like, get you crying? No, we have to preserve black boy joy. There's no room for this black boy who's 11 years old, or was 11 years old at the time, to have been crying and being so emotional about whatever was going on regarding Bernie Sanders. And the only reason he was emotional because he was conditioned to become that way, to be so verklempt over Bernie Sanders. No shot to Bernie. I like Bernie Sanders, don't get me wrong. But it's so inappropriate. There's no room for this black boy to have been so overwhelmed emotionally with the turn of events politically. If you don't pick up a stick, go play some ball, football, basketball, golf. Child, but come to find out, I do think it's alleged though, I'm not sure if it's true, that he was actually hugging the police officer, trying to tell him that he was actually being harmed in his house. Now, I'm not saying it's not true. I do believe that he was, because according to this article and other articles that I read about this situation, this young boy has repeatedly reached out to neighbors asking them to help him. He would say things like, my parents are doing bad things to me. And he would say, do you have any food? I'm hungry. And it'll be like early in the morning, not early, it'll be like late at night, like 1:42 in the morning. So there were situations in which neighbors could attest to not just that child, but other children from that family coming up to them and asking for help, asking for assistance, asking to be rescued. Apparently, they were being homeschooled. They were very, very private. They barely got outside. There were farms, like, not farms. Their backyard was preserved to be a farm. So there were chickens and eggs, yada, yada, yada. And on the outside, right, one may look at it like, oh my gosh, you're teaching your children about agriculture. That's such a great skill to learn. What a thoughtful parent, right? I would think that, like, that's a great thing to learn. No, it wasn't in that sense. It was just another way for them to continue to remain in home and have no contact with the outside world. So they were very, very big on privacy. Very, very big. The family's tragic deaths and the horrific details surrounding it have raised questions as to what more could have been done to intervene and help the Hart children. I want to read exactly what I said. Let's see. Weaver said that the possibility that the Harts made a decision to kill themselves and their children. She added, a lot of us who knew them discussed that maybe we didn't know them at all, but I still can't imagine them taking the kids on purpose. Well, imagine it. It happened. But yeah, there was something that I read that said the neighbors opened their doors multiple times to the kids, asking for them to help them, asking for them to feed them. I'm hungry. CPS was contacted on multiple occasions. Ciao. God bless. So that's one example. Let's get to the next one. A gay couple charged with molesting their adopted sons. Also, because that wasn't enough, right? Not only am I going to molest you, I'm going to pimp you out. So they were charged with molesting their adopted sons and also for pimping them out to a pedophile ring, report claims. This took place just last year. Just last year, y'all. A gay white couple from Georgia charged with molesting their 2 adopted sons and using them to record. And now these 2 sons are white. Now, look, I'm not saying anything to say like, oh, black children deserve more than white or white children deserve. The point is, I think the common denominator here is couples who are gay. I know I sound wild. But that's the common denominator here. And it's up until you take ownership in that wild take and realize this is the truth of the matter. The gay couple is what's wild here. So regardless if they adopt children who are of the same ethnic background as them or not, the gay couple still remains to be the common denominator. So let's just say that, okay? Moving forward. So this gay couple decided to molest their children, pimp them out, and record CP as a way to be involved in this local, not national, a local. You got to have some convenience, right? A local pedophile ring. A months-long investigation by Town Hall revealed that William Dale Zulog, sounds like a damn demon, right? Zulog, are you a dragon? 33 years old, a fairly young man. And Zachary Jacoby Zulog, 35, allegedly used social media to prostitute their 2 elementary age sons. Zulog, William, is actually a government worker. Oh, a government worker. Didn't I tell you governments are corrupt? And Zachary, a banker. Oh, another humble job. Another trustworthy job. Were indicted in August 2022 on charges of incest, aggravated sodomy. Remember that? Remember we talked about that, y'all? Sodomy, aggravated child molestation, felony sexual exploitation. I mean, it's just disgusting after disgusting after disgusting reports. But shocking investigation reveals in more detail the sickening abuse the boys suffered. Ugh. So disturbing. And you see them in a family photo. The boys are blurred out, so we don't see their faces, thank God, because they've already been exploited enough. But in this photo, you see everyone here wearing a t-shirt. On the t-shirt are the gay colors, the rainbow colors that have been usurped by the gay community prior to the usurpation. The rainbow colors were of God. So let's start with that. But you see these shirts being worn in the rainbow colors as the design on the front. And it says, "Love my family. Love my family." Okay. Child. For the first time, it was revealed that the man allegedly pimped out their older sons, now 11 and 9 years old, to 2 other men in a pedophile ring. One of the men, Hunter Clay Lawless, just 27 years, like, what? Told investigators that Zachary, whose Instagram bio describes him as, quote, papa to our wonderful boys and an activist. Okay. An activist of being a pedophile ring leader. Invited him multiple times to take part in sexually abusing the boys. Just disgusting. Like, depraved. However, Lawless claimed he never had physical contact with either child. He also claimed Zachary sent him multiple messages on Snapchat, including one that allegedly read, "I'm going to," oh my God, I can't even read this. Y'all. I'm so disturbed. I'm not going to read that sentence. Y'all could just fill in the blank. He says, "I'm going to my son tonight." Gosh. Just demonic. It's demonic, y'all. It's demonic. It's such a dark world we're in. And we have to be very vigilant. We have to be very hyper aware of the people we're around and not allow these titles, these labels that we put on each other. Oh, this person's a doctor. This person's a deacon. This person's an activist. He would never. She would never. Remember, I just was on here talking about nuns, Catholic nuns. There are Catholic nuns who were just as sexually abusive as the Catholic priests, who were the only ones being focused on throughout the revelations of sexual abuse in the Catholic Church and Catholic schools. Catholic nuns were a part of that. So I say all this to say, you don't know until you know, and you have to be paranoid. You have to be paranoid. You have to be with your child at all times. And it's beyond, stranger. No, it could be in your family. It's typically in proximity to you. So whether that's a close family member, even a distant one, still close enough to be family, right? Or a neighbor. I'm looking at their mugshots. Like, these men are dead in their face. Like, these people are, I wish there was a way that we could scan people. We're such in this AI time. I wish there was a way to scan people and look for certain signs as where, there's red all on your chest. That means you're demonic. That means this person should not be near children, should not be near animals. Like, I wish there was like some type of scan. We live in this social credit system now. At least China is. There has to be something like this coming up. But because so many people who are of this type of makeup, because they are in these elite positions, I don't know if this type of technology can really be made in favor of light, in favor of justice, in favor of God. Let's move on. I'm so disturbed. I'm sorry to I'm just making the point here. The common denominator is somebody. And I'm not trying to bash those who are in that community. I do have friends in that. Do I have friends in that community? At this point, maybe not. I'm just saying there's an agenda being had, and there are specific demographics who are intended to fulfill that dark agenda. And what I see to be the norm is those in that community are fulfilling such agenda. Oh, but Maxine, this is just an anomaly. No. This is more than, I just read 2 different cases. Oh, but it's just 2. No, 2's enough. 1 is enough. It's demonic, y'all. It's demonic. Anyway, Ephesians 6 verse 12. Go read that again, because my God, today. Let's get into something light. Let's get into something light. Okay, so Candace Owens got fired. Ciao. Candace Owens got fired. You know, before she got fired, though, I do want to note, I've noticed a shift in her appearance in these social media streets. And by that, I mean, she has been making more of an interest to be a part of the Black community. Because when we were introduced to Candace Owens, she has been very vocal about her disdain against the Black community. It was always time and time again how Black people are stupid, wretched, ghetto, inept. I mean, the list goes on. She has dragged the Black community time and time again, denying the experiences that Black people have had in America, and tried to gaslight you into thinking that that's not real, right? Racism isn't real. Now, look, as of recently, though, she has been shifting her tone lately. Her tone has not been solely focused on dragging the Black community. It has been focused on bringing, quote unquote, truth to light, speaking up against injustice, speaking up against immoral behavior. And that's not only amongst the Black community that she has focused on from the beginning of her career, but is focused on all communities. Like, she talks about it in the white community. Like, she's been dragging Ariana Grande for being, quote unquote, a homewrecker. I was like, okay. She's been dragging fat white people and Lizzo for being fat. But, you know, like, she has been sharing her disdain for multiple demographics, multiple groups of people, okay? She has recently been a little bit more controversial because of her take about what's going on in Gaza. And instead of agreeing with what the media wants people to agree with, which is like supporting Israel, when instead you should be supporting Palestine, she has been supporting Palestine. And what's ironic about this is her boss, because she's a part of the network, The Daily Wire. The Daily Wire is run by Ben Shapiro. He is a pro-Israelite. He is a quote-unquote Jew, and he's married to a woman who is an Israelite. I don't think I should say Israelite, but who's from Israel. Because when I think Israelite, I think of Hebrew Israelites, and I think of Black people, so that's different. But he's married to a woman who's from Israel. So, of course, his stances, his takes about what's going on there has been very pro-Israel. And she has been very vocal about being not pro-Israel. So lately, again, Candace Owens has shifted her tone, and it's been more about calling out the corruption in our government and calling out, you know, the vaccine, you know, what took place in 2020, right? So her shift has broadened. It has broadened. And I would say since 2020, since the broadening of her shifts and her tone, I have been very interested and accepting of her takes. I've been laughing at some of the things that she says and agreeing, nodding my head to it. Like, I like what she said. I agree. I too am a conservative. You know, and she talks about abortion, how she doesn't support, like, a lot of things that she has been saying lately that she's been really focusing on, I have been in such agreement with. Since she has been very vocal about her support for Palestinians versus Israel, there has been some tension with her boss, and she's made that known on but on an interview that she had with the Breakfast Club. Yes, Candace Owens was on the Breakfast Club. Au contraire, you wouldn't believe that, but it happened. And Candace Owens was interviewed by Joe Budden. I hope that she would have been on the actual podcast, but this was just a sit down, one-on-one sit down with Joe Budden on a series that he has called Humans, which is exclusively on Patreon. I don't know if he will eventually release this on YouTube. Sometimes he's been doing that typically. So at some point I feel like he would. But as of now, it's only on Patreon. So I say all this to say, she has been up on these blacks. I feel like, what's next? Is she going to be on Noriega's podcast? Which I doubt. Drinking with the Drink Champs. So yeah, I don't think she says she doesn't even drink anymore. Like, it's been, I think she's, maybe she's evolved. Maybe she's, just, grown up. She's actually I think she's, how old is Candace Owens? I want to say she's my age, y'all. Candace Owens' age. 30, she's 34. I'm 33. She is 34. It's so interesting how people just have, her last name is Farmer. Interesting. I want to be a farmer. Hello? Candace Amber Owens Farmer. Okay. But yeah, she's 34 years old. She is fairly young. Oh yeah, she has 3 children. She has a spouse. His name is George Farmer. Anyway, she has been fired from her show, or just her partnership that she's had with Daily Wire. The set that she's had on her Candace Owens podcast, all of that was funded by Ben Shapiro, who created the Daily Wire. Like, she was, how there's podcast networks? That was his quote unquote podcast network. And she was one of the shows on his network. Now that he has fired her, I wonder how she's going to move forward professionally. Like, how would she upkeep just the maintenance of the podcast that she has? Is it going to look different? Does she have to change it because she's no longer with the Daily Wire? I'm just curious about the logistics of it all, just because I'm a podcaster. So I'm wondering about how that looks like. We'll see. But yeah, she has been fired. She's been let go. It has happened. The conservative media empire founded by Ben Shapiro has cut ties with Candace Owens amid a lengthy public feud between the far-right pundit and Shapiro over the Israel-Hamas war. Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship. The outlet's co-founder, Jeremy Boring, tweeted on Friday morning, "The rumors are true. I am finally free," Owens posted to her own X account. Representatives for the Daily Wire and Owens did not immediately respond to requests for additional comment. Yeah, I'm curious to see how things will play out with Candace Owens after this firing. Obviously, there was some tension because of their differences in opinions and perspectives when it comes to the Israel-Hamas situation. So we'll see how this goes. But I think now that Candace has been just frequenting these black spaces, these black media spaces, I'm just watching how her shift in tone will continually change. I heard somewhere that she commented on the Diddy situation. She said, Diddy's house has been raided, but Diddy is used as a pawn, um, instead of the actual people, like the elite people who are responsible for the behaviors that Diddy is accused of. And what she's doing here is like using this trope that a lot of Black people would use in our takes when it comes to these Black moguls coming down. Like, oh my gosh, they're taking down the Black man, Cosby and R. Kelly. And what about the white people? That Dr. Umar trope, right? That Dr. Umar, like, okay, yeah, Diddy may have done these things, but what about the white man who's been doing these things for centuries? And it's like, okay. I don't know. I just find it to be so convenient for her to have that take, because the Candace Owens from 10 years ago would have never. So I'm just watching. I'm keeping an eye out. But yeah, I'm conservative as fuck. If the beginning of this podcast did not make that clear, me talking about how the LGBTQ plus IA, I'm about to say company. It sounds like a company. It basically is. Ciao. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button on all the platforms, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And also, one more thing. Go ahead and leave a positive review of your experience of listening to this podcast. How much you love it, how funny I am, how you look forward to this, how this is a part of your routine. I would appreciate that tenfold. Exclusively leave that on Spotify, because I want the stars to go up there. That would be great. And I also welcome that on Apple Podcasts. So please and thank you in advance. And I'll check in with you all next time. Peace.